welcome back to the Sex Talk. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about a technique that I often use with couples. Basically it's sex therapy. One of the main things that I see in my practice is typically, even though it's not the only thing that I treat, but a lot of times are couples, partners that come because they have lost their spark, or they've or maybe they never had it, or they have disparaging desire, like one person wants sex a lot more than the other, and so it becomes, for the person that wants it less, they feel pressure, and then for the person who wants it more, who feels like they're up here, they sometimes feel bad that they're over sexual, or they're like too sexual, or they feel shame about their sexuality. Actually, both people feel shame about their sexuality. This person on the low end feels like, oh God, I'm a prude, and this person feels like, oh, I'm over sexualized, or they often feel resentment towards the other person. Oh, he or she always wants sex. Oh, he or she is not attracted to me, and or they're a prude. So couples come to me with a lot of that type of stuff. A lot of times in long-term relationships, we'll see a decline in sexual desire. More often with women, there's definitely more sort of prevalence that women tend to lose their sexual desire in long-term relationships. And men do too, if they feel insecure, or if they feel like their partner's not into them or attracted to them. So when I'm not focused on the therapy aspect of it, like a lot of couples want specific, like answers, or they want like specific tools that they can use, like after they leave my office. They want something that they can take home with them, that they can put into practice. Now, this isn't the therapy piece. This is more like a behavioral piece, exercises that they can do to help bring the spark back, or help bridge that gap between the disparaging sexual desires, between their disparaging arousals. And so I have created a PDF document that I use, and it's based on a lot of different things that I pulled from a variety of different resources. A lot of great sex therapists, the people that have created Sensate Focus, which I should know this, and I'm pretty embarrassed to be saying this, but I think it was Masters and Johnson. Anyway, it's called Sensate Focus. And so I pulled some stuff from Sensate Focus. And Sensate Focus is this 5-stage process where the therapist actually takes intercourse, physical, penile, vaginal intercourse, off the table, and in fact takes genitals off the table. So even breasts and nipples are off the table for the first stage. Genitals are off the table, so you can't touch nipples, breasts, genitals in stage 1. So a couple will go home and they can do anything and everything, but they can't touch nipples or breasts or genitals. So this opens up the rest of your body, which unfortunately as society, we've become uber focused on intercourse. We've become uber focused on penetration, orgasm. And so this forces couples and partners to find new creative ways to be sexual with each other, because they can't actually focus on their genitals. They can't touch the boobs. They can't touch the nips. They can't touch the clit, the cock. You can't even, just the tip. None of that is allowed in stage 1. So stage 1, and a lot of couples are like, well, what the hell? Like, isn't that the antithesis? Aren't we supposed to be trying to have more sex? Well, the goal in Sensate Focus is to help couples learn how to regain excitement and pleasure and sensuality in their relationship, and to recognize that it doesn't have to be so focused on intercourse, so focused on orgasm, so focused on getting an erection, so focused on the person with the vagina getting wet. There's so much pressure for those things to happen that sometimes we don't want to have sex at all, because God forbid, my vagina's not wet and now there's something wrong with me. Another thing that I love to educate about, and this is part of it, is that having an erection and having vaginal wetness does not indicate arousal necessarily. It can be great, and yes, it's useful if you're trying to have intercourse, but a lot of people get aroused and they don't have an erection. Or a lot of times people have an erection and they're not aroused. So we can't use a penis being hard or a vagina being wet as a symbol of someone being aroused. Arousal happens here a lot of times in our brains, and so we really do a disservice when we're focusing on that aspect of it. So this stage 1, where there's no genitals and no breasts allowed, really gets you to get back into that place where now you're like, oh, you know, I get to like kiss my partner's neck, or I get to smell my partner's, you know, elbow, or, you know, I get to like make out with my partner's toe, or my partner gets to lick my toe. I mean, there's just so many different erogenous zones, we call them erogenous zones, in the body that you now are forced to explore because your therapist, me, has told you that no, you can't use the genitals and you can't use the breasts in this stage 1. So typically stage 1 is no breasts, no genitals. Stage 2, which is the next time the couple comes in, the clients, the partners come in. It could be the next following week. It could be a month later. It just depends on what's working for each person and what's working for the client. So stage 2, we do allow the breasts. I allow them to touch the breasts and the nipples, but still the genitals are off limits. Stage 3, which happens the third time they come in. Again, it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a couple months. It really depends on the couple. Stage 3, we allow genital touch and breast touch, just no penetration. So, and throughout all of this, you can use your mouth, you can use your hands. The only things that are ever off limits are genitals and breasts. And so it makes for this really unique form of play where, oh, I can still use my mouth. And in stage 3, you can actually use the mouth on the genitals for the first time. You just can't give your partner an orgasm, or you can't have intercourse. In stage 4, we allow intercourse without orgasm. So couples practice holding the penis inside the vagina if they want, without forcing this forced, you know, orgasm that, you know, often feels like it has to happen. And a lot of times, come on, we all want orgasms. Who doesn't want orgasms? This episode is not about orgasms. In fact, I have quite a few episodes on orgasms and the difficulty in achieving them and or the pleasure in achieving them. But this particular episode is actually about trying to not necessarily focus on orgasm. So in stage 4, they can have the intercourse without orgasm, and in stage 5, they can do whatever they want. Typically what happens is stage 1 or 2, and the couple comes in and they're like, oh, we had sex, we broke the rules, we had sex, or oh, we must be fixed. And it's like, yeah, you know, guess what? You're not necessarily fixed, but you've now discovered the key to getting your sexuality back, and that is taking the pressure off. So no, I still want to hold you to these assignments. I want you to hold yourself to these assignments so that you learn a new pattern of relating to each other sensually, that's not focused on penis and vagina, that's not focused on orgasm, that's not focused on erections, that's not focused on his or her vagina being wet. It's that focused on pleasure. It's focused on fun. It's focused on feeling sexy. It's focused on finding what it is about your partner that turns you on, what it is about yourself that turns you on. It's a fucking journey. So that's the stages that I do. Prior to the stages, one thing that I always encourage couples to do is alternate initiating. So what that means is day 1, one person initiates, day 2, the other person, day 3, day 4, day 5, and so on. So they're taking turns initiating. What this does is it levels the playing field. If someone feels like they're initiating all the time, and in some couples, one person initiates all the time, and then they start to feel bad because they're like up here with all this arousal and the other person doesn't feel like they ever get a chance to initiate in the way they want to. So initiating every day sort of levels out the playing field, balances it out. Your turn, your turn, your turn, your turn, your turn, your turn. When they initiate, guess what? they're going through the stages. So if they're in stage 1, they initiate something that doesn't involve the breasts or the genitals. So this could be anything, and this is so great because it really forces couples, partners, individuals, whoever, to learn how to get creative sexually. So some examples that I give are give your partner a massage, run a bath for your partner, watch some porn together. Let's see, read erotica together, go to a sex store together and buy some sex toys. Do some sentence completion. There's a really great book by Linda DeVillers called Love Skills. And Linda DeVillers is an ASECT certified sex therapist that was my professor at Pepperdine University. And she has this great book. And this book has these phenomenal sentence completions, which are great icebreakers. The goal is you get to now talk about sex. Like when you're initiating your turn, I don't really feel like having sex today, but I want to talk about sex. And so these sentence completions are great because one will be like something that I've always fantasized about, and you write down your fantasy. Something that I love about our intimate relationship, blah, 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 blah. So there's this list of sentence completions that I borrowed from Linda DeVillers' book, Love Skills. That's also included in my PDF. The other thing is discussing like vocabulary words. Like a lot of times we don't have the right language to express, like that's my pussy, or that's your cock, or maybe your partner hates the word cock. So please don't use the word cock. It really turns me off. Yet you're always using the word cock. Guess what? Now there's going to be a disconnect because one person's using the word cock all the time and the other person hates it, and the other person didn't know that. So there's an exercise in there where you get to write down like my favorite words for breasts are, my favorite words for genitals are, my least favorite words for breasts are, my least favorite words for genitals are, and so on. Oral sex, intercourse. And so you get to like explore language and develop a vocabulary for yourself in the relationship, for you as a couple. Like you get to develop a language. And so there's so many tools that partners are missing that in this process we get to relearn and reincorporate. And these are just some ideas. So with the initiating every other day, partners are then required to initiate something that at least takes 5 minutes. But look, so now you're initiating every day, you're doing something intimate for 5 minutes. It may or may not involve body parts. It may or may not even involve nudity, or maybe it does. Maybe you're like, hey, we can't have, intercourse, but it's stage 3. We can do some dry humping or dry fucking or whatever people call it, where you keep your clothes on. Mutual masturbation is another thing that you can do together that doesn't require you to touch each other. So this is kind of like what I encourage people to do. This is not therapy necessarily, except the great thing about it is people come back to my office the next week and they're like, oh yeah, initiating was really difficult for me, or I didn't even realize that my partner initiated. So from all of that evidence that we gather, that's where the therapy begins. We get to like unpack, like, why is one partner initiating and one partner is not initiating? What are some of the stories that we've learned about sexuality that hold us back? Or what's happening in the relationship that's causing you to not feel attracted to your partner anymore? Codependence is a humongous intimacy killer. Like when partners start to spend too much time with each other, start to rely too heavily on each other, guess what? Your sex will die. It is a proven fact, more common with women. So there are so many things that play into doing sex therapy with a couple. This is just sort of like a very, very baseline beginning thing that I often do with partners to help break that sort of like muscle pattern that they've developed. And I basically just call it like intimacy. It's like an intimacy guide that I've created for couples that helps them realize like everybody's sex drive is different. The goal is to enjoy it, have fun, explore all the other parts of your body that give you pleasure, because there's so many other parts of your body that consistently turn you on. Not, you know, from your brain, obviously. You're watching something, that's hot. Or you hear someone say something, that's hot. You watch a little bit of porn and they start moaning, or, you know, they're talking super dirty to each other, that's hot. Like, these are the types of things that we miss when we're just focused on just intercourse, or we're just focused on getting each other off. And the goal of sex therapy is to, you know, balance out the playing field between two partners, or help build a bond, sexual bond where there was not one, help create some adventure in the relationship. And it also helps to, and like when partners like embark on this together, it strengthens the bond too. And of course, this doesn't address things like how independence plays a role in feeling sexy. Like, when you have your independence and your autonomy, you're going to feel way more hotter than if you feel like you're financially or dependent emotionally physically or something on someone else. So those are all other layers of things that we address in couples sex therapy. But I just wanted to give you a little synopsis of what some of the exercises might look like in case, you know, couples therapy or sex therapy is a little bit out of your budget right now, and you want to get started with your partner. You can get started with these exercises. So number 1 is alternate initiating. Number 2, do something for 5 minutes every time you initiate, and that 5 minutes does not have to be intercourse. Number 3, follow the steps. So if you're in stage 1, you're not going to be having intercourse, obviously. You're going to be doing exercises or finding activities that don't involve the breasts or the genitals. In stage 2, you're going to involve the breasts, but not the genitals. Stage 3, you involve the genitals, but no intercourse. Stage 4, you can have intercourse but no orgasm. Stage 5, all bets are off. You can do whatever you want. I think that even if you do end up having intercourse earlier before that, that's great. But stick to the stages if you can. And I will list them down below. I will put a link to my PDF down below. You can email me and I will send it to you as well. I have no problem doing that. It's something that I happily share with my clients. So this video is just about that. I want you to enjoy sex again. And of course, masturbation is something that is definitely in there, but it's not what I talk about necessarily on this video. But masturbation is the gateway to your sexuality. It's a gateway drug. And without masturbation, you are going to be devoid of understanding what your body wants and what your body likes. In fact, what you fantasize about during masturbation is a huge window to what you want to have during sex. So, you know, these are all things to think about. These are all things that I work on with you in couples therapy and couples sex therapy. So, you know, if you can't afford sex therapy, I hope this video gives you a start. Also check out all the other videos on my channel. And I hope you have a wonderful start to your new year. Yay! Bye.